Morning guys, Romana here from Bonsai with Romana. Hope you guys had an awesome week. So you guys can see I'm changing things up a little bit this week. So I have a tree in the background over here, which I'll explain a bit more about just now. And then I have a tree that I'm going to be styling, another juniper. And then I'll just be taking you guys through the updates of what happened in the bonsai community throughout this week. There's been one or two changes. And then also I would like to just show you guys a quick update of what's happening with the heritage collection. So as you guys can see, Willem posted a Facebook message on the South African Bonsai Heritage Garden, and that's just a brief update on what they're doing. They're trimming the trees and they're looking very good. They're at Babylon Noster. So Willem went to just go look at some of the trees, and as you can see, the trees are doing quite well. So there you'll see one of Louis Nell's false olives, and then the other one is a normal wild olive. So those are all trees that's being taken care of at Babelenoster until the Botanical Garden of Stellenbosch is going to open up. So that's just an update that I want to give you guys about what's going on at the Heritage Collection. And then over here, so let me just move to the side quickly. So what I have now is I just wanted to give you guys a quick update of what's happening in my garden. So in my garden, you guys can see that there's a few trees losing their leaves. And it's actually not so bad, because what's happening now is they are preparing themselves for winter. So all the growth is now moving away from the leaves into the trunks. So as you can see, there's lots of colors. There's different shades of yellow, orange, and some of them are still green. There are a few trees that I pruned not so long ago that I'm actually worried about that's going new growth, and I'm actually fearing for their health. But they should be fine because our winters don't get that cold. There's a tree that I bought in a auction not too long ago. I bought it for I think $50. That's a tree that I bought for 250 Rand at one of our shows, and as you can see, it's a beautiful maple. So now I just want to prepare this tree for you. Let me just click out. So this is the tree that I will be working on today. So as you can see, it's quite a big tree, and I anchored it into this pot. And what I did is I just tied it down with pieces of wire, because if this tree stands up in a straight position, you won't actually be able to work on this tree, because the planting angle is wrong, and I won't be able to sort this out, because the problem here is the tree has a bad root system. So I just want to switch over to the other camera so you guys can see that I'm talking about. So over here you guys can see there's one long root going to the one side, and then there's one that's going straight down. So this tree won't be able to be worked like on that, because if you look at it from that angle, you'll see the tree is going straight, and that's not going to do any justice to this nice taper and the nice movement that the tree has in the trunk. So I'll be styling the tree at this angle, and that will help me develop the tree much better, and I'll be able to just take care of the tree until I can repot it in August or September. So I'm going to style it now, and I'm going to leave it, and then I will replant it at the right angle, because currently it's growing at the wrong angle. Before I go on with styling this tree, I mentioned this tree at the back over here. So this tree is actually very close to my heart. This tree was planted a few years ago when my wife's grandmother passed away, and 2 weeks later I bought 5 trees, and I planted them in a pot, and as it grew I changed it over to a slab, and there's 5 trees in this forest over here, and it all represents the family that was left behind. And this tree over here represents my wife's father. Her mother would be the second biggest tree, and then my wife, her sister, and then my daughter, because they are the only people that still related to her grandmother that passed away. So this tree is very close to my heart. I've showed it 2 times, I think, in past shows. The tree is coming on very well. This year it actually didn't grow that much because it's planted in a a very flat slab, what happens is the tree dries out very quickly. So if you water it, it has to be in a shaded area. So what I did is recently I moved it into a more sunny area, because obviously the temperatures are going down. So this tree is only now receiving full sunlight, where the rest of the year it was actually just receiving partial sunlight. So hopefully this tree will get some new growth, because there's wire that I applied on here as well that I can't remove yet because the branches aren't set. But the trees levels are all set up. There's two new growth over here, and then the wire at the back over here. But there is a gap over here at the back that I need to grow in some more branches, but I'll handle that at a later stage. I first just need the tree to show more sign of growth, because there is new shoots opening up, but it's not budding. So, and it didn't have any flowers on this tree today. So if you guys don't know, this is an Australian cherry tree. So it normally gets little white flowers, and that white flowers turns into the bright red and purplish kind of color cherries. And this year it bloomed, but there was no cherries on the tree. So it might be because it didn't receive enough sunlight, and also the soil mixture dried out a few times. And if the tree dries out, one of the first stuff it does, it sends all the growth in the tree to the fruits. I don't know why they do that. So most of the time what we do on bonsai is we just remove the fruits, because the fruit takes up a lot of energy of the trees. So yeah, that's in short this tree over here. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. It's a very special tree, and I'll be showing it a bit more. I actually saw on Instagram 2 days ago that I shared a photo of this tree about 2 years ago, and I put it on my Facebook story. So I'll just add this tree in my YouTube channel just now, and then you can have a better look at it. Okay, so now I'm going to be moving over to this tree. So I have worked on it, I have angled it a bit. The one thing that I have to do now before I actually start working on it is just remove some of the dead foliage, because that's not going to do anything on the design. So yeah, I know you guys saw, so 2 weeks ago I spoke to Willem, and Willem mentioned what the heritage garden is like now and where it's moved to. And hopefully it's going to be open to the public within the next couple of months, so guys can actually see the trees again, because the only people that see the heritage collection now are the people that working on the farm. So that's quite a big part of South African heritage that's actually just left there, that nobody can actually look at it. So hopefully within the next levels of lockdown we can actually go and have a look at the tree. So I'm just removing some of the dead growth, because that's just looks unsightly and it's not going to do anything to this tree. So what I'm using is one of these smaller clippers, and see over there it's one of so we use these to pinch off leaves instead of breaking it off with your hand, because if you break it off with your hand it tears off, and then the tree gets scarring and the tree takes longer to come back after that. Okay, so there's not a lot of dead ones on this branch, so this one is done. So what I decided is that I'm actually, let me just switch over to this camera over here. So what I did is I decided that I'm going to use this over here as my front. So I'm just going to turn it slightly so you can actually see. So the reason for that is that there's a nice moving tape, there's movement and there's taper. So it's very thick at the base over here, and then it goes thinner and thinner to the top over here. The reason I'm using this part, so obviously you can't see it with the camera because it's angled straight towards you guys. Now let's try and turn it. Yeah, it kind of looks weird from there, but okay. So this is going to be my first branch of this tree. This is going to be the second branch. And I'm going to use this as a back branch, and also use this as a branch to cover up the area over here. I'm going to drop this down so that you can have a bit more growth closer to the trunk over here to make it a bit more pleasing. And then there's quite a few dead branches on here, and I'm going to leave them because they actually create a very nice look on the tree. So what I'll do is I'll take the branch over here and the one over here, and I'll use the same wire for that. But before I get to the two branches, what I'm going to do is I'm actually gonna apply wire all the way from the base of the trunk all the way to this branch over here with one thickness, so that I can actually use one wire instead of using two separate pieces of wire. So I just need to grab, so I pre-cut these wires because I saw last time that it takes quite a few seconds to cut that. So I wanted to get to the styling as quickly as possible. Sorry, it's just a bit difficult because I applied the other wires here now, so I'm gonna have to work around those wires. Just get the pliers to get that nice. So I'm just gonna bend this. So what I'm doing is I'm just have a short hook on here, and that hook is just to get the wire to be secured around the branch over here so that it doesn't pull as I apply it onto the tree. And then once again, we just need to keep in mind we need to apply the wire in the same direction that we want to bend the branch. So I'm going to apply it clockwise so that I can bend this branch down and towards me. So I'm just going to apply this over here. Just get in there. So this first part is going to be difficult because I need to also take the wires into consideration that I applied to keep this tree in the pot while I'm styling it. Otherwise it's just going to fall over. Okay, there we go. First part is on. So I get a lot of questions asking me why we apply wire to bonsai and if it's necessary. So the quick answer is it is necessary to wire a tree, especially if you're working on trees that used to be nursery stock, because they weren't styled in a bonsai nursery from seedlings or from cuttings to have a specific design in mind. So if you want to get a bonsai tree as quickly as possible, the best way would be to apply wire. And applying wire does look like a daunting task, but the more you do it, the more you get used to the wire, applying wire. And one thing that I learned from the guy that I'm apprenticing at is that you actually, before applying wire, you should play with the wire and see how the wire actually feels in your hand before you apply it to any branches, because that way you get used to the resistance that the wire gives you, and you will know exactly at what amount of pressure you need to apply when you're applying the wire to the tree. Because many times, if you're not used to the wire, especially if you're going from copper wire to aluminium wire, so I use aluminium coated wire. The only reason I use that is it's flexible. You can use quite a thick gauge and it goes around branches very easily. Where copper wire, you have to use thinner gauges to go into wire, but also copper is a bit more stiff. So if you apply copper and you're not used to it, you might damage your branches, and also it has a copper smell. I just can't handle that smell, so this is why I use aluminium wire. And aluminium wire also, it's nice and easy to unwind after it was applied, where with copper wire, if it gets hard, so what happens is the copper wire gets hard once it applies, because once you apply it, there's a powder around the wire that as you apply the wire, it actually breaks, and what happens then is it hardens off, so it stays in place. So now as soon as you want to unwind that wire, especially with copper wire, it's a bit more difficult because that wire has set into place. It's almost like what do you call it now, a spring. So the springs are set into place by heat. So obviously once you start working on that, you can't unwind it. So it's the same with the wire. Once it gets heated up by the sun, it gets set, and then you have to cut it off. And as you guys know, I don't like spending a lot of money on wires, because it could be costly if you're styling trees every day or every other day or even once a week. So let's do these two branches with one wire. I already have that one. Just want to check if it's the right one. So let's do this one. Okay, sorry guys, I see that I'm covering up my face with this tree every now and then. I just want to go to the camera, it's a bit further away, so yeah, and let's go to that one, because otherwise I'm going to look at you guys through the tree the most of the time. So I'll rather have you guys have a nice big overview than up close of the tree. I'll show you guys close-ups every now and then. I just need to check which way. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to figure out a path where the wires run parallel to each other, because you don't want the wires to cross, because once the wires cross, um, you're going to have the bark that, because once the wire is applied there, what's going to happen is the bark's going to cut into the wire. So if you have two wires crossing, it's going to make an X. So all the growth in the branch is going to go up to where the wire is crossing the on the bark. And if there's two crossing on each other, what's going to happen is going to have a triangle, and the sap that flows through the branch can't cross that wire. The rest of the tree above that wire is just going to die. So you want to make sure that you apply the wire in parallel direction, or in the same direction, parallel to each other, all the way up the trunk, because then at least the wire, there will always be space for the sap to flow up in a circular motion. Otherwise, you're just going to ring bark your tree, and the rest of the tree will die off because it's not receiving any sap from the lower part of the roots. Okay, there we go. So I just want to anchor that one, and then I'll apply this one to this branch over here. So I did feel these branches earlier today, and it does feel like this branch at the bottom is a bit stiff, but hopefully it will allow me to bend it, because the growth in the trees are slowing down. So the sap that normally makes the trees more flexible is starting to slow down. So working on trees now is not ideal. Just want to move some of this foliage out of the way so I can actually get the wire through here. Just want to end off, like, just turn it slightly, and just once over this one. There we go. So yeah, so the last previous streams, I actually had interviews before before the demo, but unfortunately this week I've been so busy with work that I didn't have time to actually ask somebody if they're willing to be live on my stream. So I'll try and see next week or the week after that if I can get one of the club members to join me on the live stream, and then I'll share those details with you guys. So yeah, so work's been keeping me busy. So you would see that this week I wasn't that active on social media, especially on my Instagram and Facebook. So, but hopefully, as things start flattening out at work, we should be able to spend more time together. At least then there's one thing that stays the same throughout the entire lockdown. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, I think I've had quite enough of this lockdown and staying at home. I'm not complaining because I get a lot more time to work on my trees. Yeah, it's just we need to get back to normal. Okay, so those are done. So I'm going to wire these two branches with the same wire. I'm just going to switch over to the other camera again so you guys can see which two branches. So these two branches over here, these two smaller ones, I'm going to wire them with the same wire so that it's anchored against each other. Just going to just choose the right wire here. Just want to see if it's not that one. It's this one. Okay. So now I just need to make sure that it goes around there. Yeah. Go across. No. Okay, so it's going to go this way around. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, you guys are more than welcome to send it through in the chat section. I actually moved my stuff around this week because last week at the end of during the end of the stream, I didn't even notice because I couldn't monitor the screens. So the audio actually died at the last 6 or 8 minutes of the stream. And I would have never caught that if I didn't actually record everything and watch it through afterwards. So I used a belt pack, so I used a wireless microphone, and me being a sound guy, hopefully I would have remembered to change the batteries, but unfortunately with everything being new with the stream and working on these trees, I actually forgot to change the batteries. So luckily it just died out at the end of the stream and not during a crucial part of the interview or during the part where I was just giving you guys some information. But this week I made sure that the batteries are fresh, and I also changed everything around so that I can actually monitor the levels of the batteries, the live stream on YouTube, and see what's going on my laptop all at the same time. So you will see me looking in that direction every now and then. Yeah, it's just so because I'm one person running the stream and presenting, so it's quite difficult if everything is just scattered around. So hopefully it gets easier, and yeah, the stuff that I test out works. Okay, so the bottom part of the tree is wired. I'll check now. Once I place the branches, I'll make sure to see that all of the smaller branches are on the right places, and because I don't want to wire all the smaller branches. I explained it a couple of times in my previous blogs, is when you just apply too much wire on the smaller branches and summer comes around, they all burn. So yeah, I don't want to apply too much wire on the trees, especially now, because they, okay, I just need to see, okay, so that needs to come over that one. Okay, so I'm just trying to get the right path here so that there's no gaps between the wire and the bark. You want to apply it as tight as possible so that there's no gaps in the between the wire and the bark, because that just causes whole problem altogether. Okay, let's cut these off. That one's done. Let's go to this one over here. And if you guys are looking for bonsai videos and guys to follow, there's quite a few guys that send out quite a lot of info, and it's quite nice. So if you're looking for, there's a guy called Bjorn. He has Bonsai in America. He used to apprentice at Fujikawa at his nursery. So he's been doing bonsai for over 9 years in Japan, and he moved to Tennessee and he started a bonsai nursery over there. So you guys are more than welcome to follow him. He has amazing tutorials, and also he's very active on social media, and he sends out posts and podcasts at least once a week. So that's also something to check out. I don't know if the nurseries around Cape Town has opened up yet, the bonsai nursery, so I'll keep an eye on that and I'll let you guys know as soon as those open up, because I also, as I mentioned in last week's stream already, I need more wiring because I'm starting to run out of wire, and I'm reusing some of my older wire, which I actually prefer, but every now and then you need more new wires, because the more you use your wire, the more tangled it becomes, so it just ends up looking unneat when it's on the trees. I don't mind, but obviously when you going to expos or you have people viewing your garden, you don't want the wires to look unneat on your trees. Okay, so let's bend this one around and get it through. It's also always difficult when you have like almost 3 branches stemming from the exact same place, because then you have to kind of maneuver your way through all the foliage. Well, this is an interesting tree. I got this tree from the person where I'm apprenticing, and I haven't done anything to this tree in almost 4 months now. So I saw it the beginning of this week, and I thought I might just style this tree because it's just been sitting there, and if I'm not doing anything with it, it's just going to stay like that for another couple of years, because there's not a lot of growth on the tree. but I'm just going to try and style it as quickly as possible and then get to fertilizing the trees so that they can actually grow faster. Because I don't want to style the trees once they have a lot of growth on there, because then it's going to be nearly impossible to get wire on there, because the more growth you have, the more difficult it becomes to apply the wires on the tree. So I'm just looking for the right gauge of wire and the length as well. Okay, let's do this one. Just going to turn the tree. Okay, I just need to think about this. Okay, let's go this way around. It's always difficult when once the big wires are in place, because then you need to get the smaller wires in around that. And also when you're removing the wires, you need to remove the bigger wires first, so that you can actually the smaller wires first. Sorry, if you remove the bigger wires, you won't be able to get them off. You need to remove smaller wire first. So if you applied the thicker wire first, you need to remove the smaller ones and then get to the bigger ones on the tree. There we go. Just gonna end this off here. Cool. So there's 2 more branches, so these top branches, and then I'm done wiring the tree. Then I can actually style it. Let's use this one. This looks like no. Okay, this is gonna go all the way up. That way. So now I just need to figure out how to get it on here. This way. Okay. So what I always do is I just end in a fork so that I can start wire. So I just wrap the wire once around the fork, and then I will cut off the wire, and then I'll use another piece of wire from the fork. That way you have more stability in the fork. Then if you go all the way to the top of the tree, and then when it comes to the fork, you don't have any leverage, because if you just apply it straight, the tree is not going to have any, it's going to seesaw. Okay, let's get a new piece of wire. Goes up, so I'm just measuring this one. Okay. Okay, I'm almost done over here. Oh, thank you, Jerome. I see your comment. Sorry, I'm just trying to look around the 2 screens to see the comment. Thank you very much. It's great to see that you're active on YouTube and watching the links. Thank you for the support. End this one off. Okay, so there's 2 more, and then I'm done with that. And then I'll show you guys how I place the trees. And if you guys have any questions, please send them on. I'll try and answer them. It's just trying to get this one in here. Oh, that's the wrong way. To apply it from this side. Here we go. Okay. Just end off in the forks again. All done this side. Cool. I'm not going to wire the thin branches, so that's it for now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the lower branches, and then we're going to see how that works out. So okay, so I'll bend this up. Just be careful, junipers, they do tend to sting. Okay, as I mentioned, this branch is quite thick. I'm gonna have to apply another piece of wire onto that. It's not thick enough to hold the branch, because let me just show you what happens. So if I bend it and I leave it, it just bounces back. So this wire is not thick enough for this. So what I'll do is I'll just add in another piece of wire. Just need to find a way to anchor it. Just gonna have to bring it with the other wire. Just have to map it out quickly. I'm gonna have to take it up. I just need to make another bend in the wire so it actually applies on there, great. Okay, and it needs to come over that one, come past this one, and run parallel to the other one. Here we go. So now you'll see there's two wires running parallel to each other on this thick branch. I'm actually amazed at the strength of this branch. I would normally be able to use one wire on that branch, but obviously, as I mentioned, the sap flow is low in the tree, so might be a reason for that. So let's just see. Yeah, there we go. That's much better. So it's actually staying in place now. So please, just when you're bending the branches, make sure. Just want to show you guys that you have your one hand secured on this side, so you guys can actually see there. So have your hands tightly around the branch, and use your thumb, this thumb, at the back of the branch, and then bend it. Don't just bend the branch like that, because it's going to snap. So you need to put support under the branch, just like that, and bend it in small increments. So bend it slightly further than you need to bend it, and then just listen. So as you're bending it, listen to hear for cracks, and once it starts creaking and cracking, you stop, because then you've reached that limit. So one thing you need to keep in mind is you don't always have to bend the branch into place now. So what you do is you do it in stages. So first bend it, let it rest for a few minutes, or even if it's a lot further, try and apply the wire, bend the tree, and then come back to it in a week or two, and then bend the branch again. Yeah, so don't force. If it doesn't want to move, don't force it. You'll break off the branch, and then you'll just set the tree back a few more years, and yeah, that's something you want to avoid. So bend the branch and listen. Make sure you have enough support under the tree, and make sure the wires are thick enough to hold the branches in place. But yeah, don't force it. If it doesn't want to move, move it as far as it can, and then wait. So obviously that's, so I see this is, so that's this branch in place. Let me just lift it up for you guys. So there's one branch in place. I'll actually show you guys on the other camera just now, and then the other branch, this one over here. Just bend the tree. So this branch over here, it's going up, so I just need to wire it. I didn't apply wire to that. Let me just grab a piece of wire over here. It's too thick. There we go. Here's a thin wire. So this wire also is very thin, but it's copper, so it should be able to support the weight of that. Okay, let's do that. Let's apply this quickly. Okay, so this is almost in place. Okay, just need to wrap it around a couple of times so it actually has enough strength. Bend that. Okay. There we go. So I see that the pot's actually wiggling now, so the wedges has moved at the bottom, but I'll shift them into place now, because otherwise I lose the angle that I just had. There we go. Spin this bar into place. There we go. And now I'll see that this branch is in place now. And I'll angle this one. Shift this one down. See, here's another branch that I need to wire. I think it's always easier for me to wire the branches as I go, because you don't want to wire all the branches on the tree, because that takes up time. And also, if you don't need to wire a branch, that's obvious. It's better if you don't wire it, because you're just adding more and more strain to the tree. Okay, so let's just wire this small branch over here. That would be 3. Okay, sorry, this tree is quite big. It might not look like that. But if I turn this tree on the turntable, I actually need to move out of the way because it leans into me. I just need to get this wire through the bottom of here. Here we go. As close as possible. And if you get into areas that's quite tight to move, just take your time to move the foliage out of the way, because you don't want to break it off. As I mentioned now, you don't want to cause unnecessary strain to the tree. There we go. Let's get this one done over here. Okay, I'm just going to end it off there. Okay, so now we can place that branch in place over here. What you want to do is you want to spread the branches out around the trunk so that it actually covers up all the space around the trunk, so that it can get maximum sunlight to all the branches. So this one over here, I'm just going to bring down slightly. So, and also make sure that all your branches are on their own levels, not on the same height, because that will ensure that they get the most amount of sunlight. And as you move up the tree, an important thing to keep in mind is, so your bottom branches you want to lean down as far as possible, because in nature what will happen is that the branches, so let me just switch over to the other camera to see that it's difficult for you to see when I'm doing that. Okay, so what happens in nature is the lower down on the trees you get, the longer the branches are. And the longer the branches are, what happens is as soon as rain falls on the branch becomes heavier, so it leans down. Okay, so that's what happens in nature. And also the natural tendency of the tree is to grow straight up towards the sunlight. So at the bottom of the tree, your branch goes down, and as you move up, you have the branches going up, 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 and until it reaches to the sun. So that's something to keep in mind when you're styling a tree, because obviously bonsai is art that reflects whatever's happens in nature, but with some artistic flair. So you really want to try and get as much as examples from nature as possible. So when styling a tree, at the bottom make your branches very dramatic, and as you move up, try and angle it slightly up so that it doesn't look unnatural and forced, because that's the last thing you want, is tree that looks forced. So what I'll do now is, once I've done with that, I'll just cut all the long lengthy growth off the tree. So now it's time for me to angle this huge trunk over here. I'm just going to shift over to the other camera for that. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to be in this. Once again, I just need to shift this around so it doesn't, it's actually weird, this thing has moved now. Let me just tighten the wires so that the pot stays in place. Here we go. Let's have that one. And just tighten up this wire over here so it doesn't move as much. Here we go. It's a bit better. Move that one out. Just tuck these in deeper. There, that's better. Okay, so let's try and get this apex. So what I want to do now is I want to move the apex as far down as possible towards the trunk over here. So I'll just turn the tree so you can actually see what I'm doing over there. So yeah, so this trunk is going up, so I just need to bend this slightly in here, because what happens now is these two branches face out and you want to bring this down so it's more compact. So the more compact your tree is when you're starting off, the better it will actually be in the long run. So as you can hear, this branch is already cracking, so it's quite stubborn. Okay, so I'm going to use a guy wire for that. So I'll show you guys now how we do that. Is actually, so you use a thinner piece of wire and you get a dead piece of branch. So this branch over here, there's a dead branch over here. So what I'll do is I'll pull this down towards this branch, and I'll just use the pliers, take two ends, twist it, twist, pull, twist and pull, and then this canopy should come all the way down. So I'm just going to switch over to the other camera because it's going to look very weird, because I'm going to do it on this side. So just bend this down. Just need to find a space where I can slip the wires through. Let's pull it down, all the way down. Okay, now we just need to get it towards this branch at the bottom. Just going to grab the two ends with the pliers. There we go. There we go. So now I'm going to pull this down. So as I'm pulling, I'm applying force to this tree at the top, so that it pulls in the right direction. Let me just turn it. Yeah, sorry, I'm just, yep, there we go. And just apply it as you go along. One thing to keep in mind is you just have to make sure that whatever you're tying it to is strong enough to actually hold down that weight of the branch. So I'm just going to cut a more piece of wire off. Just put it in between the two wires and then twist it off. So what I'm doing now, just turn the camera around so you can switch to this one. So now you'll be able to see. So what I'll do is I'll just put this piece of wire in between the two wires that I just applied and just twist it, just to make it a bit more neater, and it also kind of lets the chunk the wire disappear. Instead of having two wires, you now have one neatly tied to that. Okay, let me just pull that wire out. There we go. That looks a bit better. So now I'm just going to bend these branches in place quickly. Turn the tree around. So you leave it there. Okay, so this is the front, and I just need to make sure that the movement. Okay, so you have a branch, cover this area at the back. We have a branch that comes down onto the other side over here, just to create some depth over here. So this I'll just shorten off because this is going way too far out of the design, and if I don't cut it back now, it will just go back down. Okay, so let's get that. So I'll just move it in and out a bit so it becomes a bit shorter. Then move it back. So I'm moving it back and then forward, so there's a bit more movement in that. Okay, here we go, that shortens that. Let's get the back branch down. Then bringing this front branch down to over here. Let's bring it in. The same applies to this branch, bend it out and then bend it in, because then you have an S curve and that just shortens the length of the branch. Okay. This one. Actually, just gonna twist this and tie it in this way. Sorry, just breathing heavily as I'm bending that now. Just get this over that one. There's a branch at the back. And just bend it in place. There we go. Get this one in over there, back branch, and now it doesn't look like I need this branch over here, so I'm just going to shorten it off because it's not doing anything to the design. There's too much branches in this area over here. I'm just just going to remove that and get my pliers, cut this off, and then bring the apex down into that place. There we go. Now I can actually use this back branch to occupy that space over there. Here we go. Yeah, when you're working on joints, just make sure that you support them as well, because they do tear open if you bend the branches too far open and wide, especially with these joints over here. You have to make sure that they don't make any screeching sounds, because then they will snap off. Let's do this over here and actually make this come down a bit more. Just twist it, twist these to place. This is nice thin branches over here, so just shorten them by bending them in and out a few times. That creates a nice compact canopy over here. Get them in like that. Get this one over here. This one needs to go down into place over there. Okay. Yeah, so this would be the front of the tree over here. So this needs to come down slightly more. Yeah. So that's the front of the tree. Just see if you look at it from this angle. Yeah. So yeah, so that's the tree. It's actually done. There's not a lot of movement added to the tree, but the branches are already in place. And now to just be to remove all the smaller parts of the, I just need to get the scissors, anything that's hanging down or any long growth. So you're going to try and push growth back to areas where you actually need it. So you remove any unnecessary loose dangling long branches, because that's not going to add anything to your design. And also if the growth is too far away from the base, it's not going to do anything for the tree. So this long stuff you can just remove, especially towards the apex of the canopy. You don't want any long skinny growth on there. And you also, what you try and do is get the tree as compact as possible. So let me just see, this one I can actually leave for now. And also what you want to do is you don't want to remove all the young growth on the tree, because junipers, if you remove all the young growth, you're actually going to stunt the tree. It's not going to grow fast, and it's going to be set back a few years. So yeah, it could also die if you remove all the young growth. So try and keep a balance between the growth that's on the tree now and the young growth. Just remove what you need, and also don't cut all the way to the trunk. Leave a bit of a stump, because junipers do bud back quite easily. So this is going straight up. It's not going to do anything for the design. This long growth I'm just going to cut back. I'm going to look at it from the bottom. So it's always nice to take a step back from the design and stand away from the tree, so you can actually look through the branches and see where any long growth is, and just remove those. And there you can see I just trimmed it slightly, didn't remove too much of the new growth. Don't want to send the tree into shock, so just removed little bits of wire that was growth that was in the way, and that's it. Yeah, so that's it for me for today, guys. I know it's a short stream, but there's not a lot that I want to cover, and just go to that. Yeah, so if you guys have any questions, you're more than welcome to send them through to me. Please scan the QR code and give me your feedback. I do welcome feedback, and also any suggestions that you guys have, and if there's anything that you guys want me to talk about in particular, give me a shout. Yeah, that's it for today, so thank you very much. I just want to thank Jerome for watching. It's a great help. He helps me with a few other things. And then also I just want to thank everybody that's been supporting me up until now. And yeah, if you like what you're seeing, please subscribe in the link below. And I'll see you guys next week. Cheers.